Hello everyone and welcome back to the layout. This layout update will be for March of 2025. Not a whole lot of progress to report on the layout, even since the last layout update over a year ago. However, I have acquired a pretty large amount of new locomotive power since the last update, which will be kind of the primary focus of today's layout update. With that said, unfortunately it's just been a crazy year, which has prevented me from getting into the layout room to work on the layout. Any time that I did have was more or less dedicated to video editing for the new videos that I've released from some of the more recent trackside content I've acquired over the last few years. In fact, I have about 8 terabytes of footage still waiting to be edited, and frankly the video editing has eaten up a lot more time than I originally anticipated. But that's okay, because I'm still very much enjoying and having fun doing it. Much of this is from Montana Rail Link, but I have lots of footage from Albany and Eastern, Genesee, Wyoming branch lines, and the Canadian roads as well. So in other words, stay tuned for more trackside content, as there is a lot in the queue waiting to be completely untouched. Besides the fact that I haven't been able to find much time to get up there, any time that I did find was spent moving trains across the layout with friends and just enjoying the operations and some of the social aspects of the hobby. With that said, there is a lot of really exciting changes coming to the layout, probably around mid-year this year, so definitely stay tuned for more videos a little bit down the line. But in the meantime, let's head over to the other room, and I will showcase some of the new acquisitions for the layout. So over the last few months, I've spent a lot of time away from the layout, largely due to editing either trackside content and helping one of my friends with his layouts. And among everything else that I've been involved in. So as a result, I've accumulated a significant backlog of new locomotive power, which has yet to be unboxed and placed on the layout. So I figured with very little progress made on the layout, I would take this opportunity to kind of showcase some of the models that I have purchased over the last year. Alright, so we'll start by taking a look at some of the newly acquired CP power for my layout. In front of you is a Scale Trains AC4400 CW in the CP Golden Beaver paint scheme. I acquired 5 AC4400s in total over the last year, 4 of which are from Scale Trains, so I got 3 of these CP units, one of which was the RCMP musical ride unit. I got a CEFX, or commonly known as Bluebird, AC4400 CW, and those were super common on CP trains, probably right up until about 2018, I want to say. And then I also picked up an Athearn Genesis AC4400, also in CP paint, which I'll show you next here. But frankly, the Scale Trains units, exactly what we expect from Scale Trains. Super well done. Probably the closest thing you can get to brass in plastic. And frankly, the Canadian modelers have been looking for a well-detailed, prototypically accurate AC4400 and CP paint for many, many years, for as long as I've been in the hobby anyway. So super happy to have finally got these models, and we couldn't have asked for anything better. So so here's just a quick look at all of the numbers I acquired. So we had a look at number 9641. I also got 9618, which is the RCMP musical ride logo on the nose there. And then we have another standard AC4400, number 9625. And then lastly, on top here, we have the CEFX Bluebird scheme, which, as mentioned, was commonly seen on CP trains for quite an extensive period of time. As always, if there's any locomotive or paint scheme that you want me to take a closer look at or review, drop it in the comments below, and I'd be happy to show you these locomotives a little bit closer in detail. So the next model you see here is another CP AC4400 CW. This one is produced by Athearn Genesis, and they went ahead and produced it in the dual flag paint scheme, which is just another paint scheme CP had in the early days of CP Rail. These units today are super heavily worn. The flag is super faded, so ultimately that'll be the plan for this unit once it gets weathered. And I just ordered the DC model because as you know, I will install ESU loc sound and scale sound system speakers into all of my locomotives. So other than the great detail that Athearn accomplished with this model, which all of the Canadian modelers are super pleased with, I don't have a whole lot more to show for this model, just given that there's still some work to be done to it. So the next two locomotives here are two more highly anticipated locomotives from Athearn Genesis. These are CP ST70 ACU locomotives painted in CP's military tribute paint schemes. So we have 7023 and 7020 pictured here. And they've been releasing these paint schemes slowly over the last couple of years, as there's 5 different paint schemes. But let's go ahead and take a closer look at each paint scheme. So the first of the two that we'll look at here is CP7023. This is the Air Force Tribute locomotive, and Athearn Genesis has been releasing each of the 5 paint schemes slowly over the last few years. So again, another highly anticipated locomotive that I'm happy to have received in the mail as of recently. This is also a DC model, as I typically will only purchase DC locomotives from Athearn Genesis, because this will inevitably get upgraded to ESU loc sound with scale sound system speakers. So that's another project that is going to be sitting on the shelf for a little while until I get sound installed in it. Last but certainly not least, for these newly acquired CP locomotives is the 7020. And just like in real life, the model is very difficult to film and or photograph in less than ideal lighting conditions. So this is painted in the temperate green paint scheme. It blends in really well with just about everything as it is intended to. But again, same as the 7023, the detail on this locomotive is awesome. Comes with roller bearing trucks, and I just can't wait to get sound and DCC installed on this locomotive. Alright, so moving on to some of the newly acquired BC Rail and CN locomotive power, which is definitely the bulk of it, so there's a lot to get through here. But we're starting off with Rapido's BC Rail M420s. It's something that is way out of my era. However, I've always thought they're cool locomotives and definitely did not want to see this project fold due to lack of orders. So I went ahead and I ordered a couple sets, and yeah, beautiful locomotives. They sound great. I haven't really got a chance to run them, so not sure how they look on that front yet. And then ultimately I'll find a place somewhere on my layout to operate these, so whether it's modeler's license and get them heavily weathered to say that they're one of the few that are still surviving on the railway, we'll see how I incorporate them on the layout. But nonetheless, super happy to see Rapido finally do these locomotives in BC Rail, and happy that I managed to pick some up. So these Rapido M420s came in an A and B set. I managed to acquire 2 sets of them, and like I said, these models look and sound great. So if you're interested in a closer look at these locomotives, let me know in the comment section below, and I'd be happy to try and film a closer look at these units. So the next locomotive here is sticking with the theme of BC Rail. This is an Athearn Genesis locomotive. It's a Dash 944 CW in the BC Rail paint scheme. This is another super highly anticipated model that a lot of the BC Rail modelers have been waiting for quite some time. Prior to it being available in plastic, it was only available in brass for exorbitant prices. So I ordered these probably about a year and a half ago. They arrived relatively recently, and super happy with how these models look. Again, these are just DC only, and the plan is to install ESU loc sound, scale sound system speakers, and eventually get it weathered. So super happy with this. And just like pretty much all of the other models I've showed you so far, I got multiple road numbers in the same paint scheme. So BC Rail 4650, 4649, and lastly 4654. BC Rail had a number of these blue Dash 9s, and they have lasted long into the modern era. So these were pretty common on CN trains, trailing and leading. In fact, I have a video out there somewhere of two of these leading an intermodal train into the lower mainland. So these will get modernized as well with the yellow sill stripe, and looking forward to getting these on the layout. So next locomotive, kind of transitioning from the BC Rail to the CN locomotives, is the Rapido trains, Dash 840 CMs. Again, more highly anticipated models from Rapido trains. They have done these in the past, however it was in the Prime Mover series, so it lacked a lot of detail. With that said, these models could have been done a little bit better. We've seen a lot of great stuff come from Rapido in recent years, and these just kind of missed the mark on the level of detail they could have achieved. Unfortunately, it seems that they reused a lot of the same tooling from the Prime Mover series, which, for those who aren't familiar, the Rapido Prime Mover series was supposed to be a budget-friendly model train set, essentially, and therefore it lacked a lot of detail. Cost is often associated with detail, so the less detail, the cheaper the locomotive, more detail, more expensive it is, etc. So for these locomotives, there's no see-through radiators, no see-through grills. Really what they ended up doing is they just added a few detail parts to the cab of the locomotive. One of the big things being the BC Rail locomotive having the double ditch lights. Both of those now come installed on the locomotive, as opposed to the Prime Mover series where you had to install them after the fact on your own accord. So overall, the locomotives are nice. They sound great. I'm sure they'll run just fine, and they'll fit the part that I'm trying to, or the feel that I'm trying to capture on my layout. So they're good locomotives. I look forward to getting them weathered and on the layout, but unfortunately I just feel that Rapido could have done a slightly better job on these locomotives. Also got multiple of these locomotives. So we have the 2423, 2405, and then we have two BC Rail locomotives, number 4617 and 4607. Again, looking forward to getting these all weathered, and especially the BC Rail locomotives modernized to CN specs with the yellow sill. And yeah, overall pretty happy with these locomotives. And lastly, but certainly not least, is the Rapido trains GP9RM mother and slug sets. Now you want to talk about a highly anticipated model, especially for CN modelers. This is definitely it. Again, these locomotives were only available in brass prior to being manufactured in plastic, and even if you did find a brass or a set of brass locomotives just like this, one, you'd be paying an arm and a leg for it, and two, they were extremely hard to come by just because there wasn't that many made. So, very happy to have these locomotives. These were seen all over North America, working the yards and local industry. So with that, I picked up a number of these locomotives. Rapido just did an excellent job, and this is what I mean by the Dash 8s being kind of disappointing. Is we know that Rapido is capable of very high levels of detail, and they achieve that 110% on these locomotives. However, the Dash 8s, they just kind of missed the mark on it. These GP9RMs and slug sets are incredible. The detail, the lighting packages, everything about them is absolutely awesome. The slug set is powered. It also has sound and lighting features, which you have never seen really in any plastic slug sets. So when these were announced, I took full advantage of ordering exactly what I wanted, and I got a number of these locomotives. So I got 2 of the slug sets in the late scheme, so these are both remote control equipped with the strobe lights. And then I picked up 3 individual units, 4110 in the Sergeant Stripe scheme, 7006, as well as 4028. And the difference between these 2 units and the paint schemes is the Sergeant Stripe units, they come with ditch lights. Those were built for road service, so oftentimes they were seen switching local industries on local freight trains, etc. The noodle schemes were typically seen in the yards. So especially where I'm from on the West Coast, lots of these were assigned to CN's Thornton Yard, as well as local switching assignments in the nearby area. So that concludes this layout update for March of 2025. Unfortunately, not a heck of a lot of progress on the layout. However, I promise this year there will be some really exciting changes to come on the layout, and I look forward to presenting those to you. So thanks again, everyone, for watching. If you have any comments, questions, or concerns, please feel free to drop them in the comments section below. And if you haven't already, please feel free to like this video and subscribe for more railroad-related content just like this. Until next time, we'll look forward to seeing you back here on my channel.